Hey guys, welcome back. This is a chit chatty get ready with me. So if you like these sort of long random videos, keep watching. I've tied my hair back out of the way so I can put on my makeup. I'm going to start with Too Faced Shadow Insurance. So it has been a crazy few weeks for me. I feel like I went from prepping for Dragon Con to Dragon Con, where I was gone for about 6 days. Then I came home and had to start prepping for Hurricane Irma, which was just a lot of work because I was trying to do stuff so I could stay here for the hurricane. And then we decided to take off and go to New Orleans, and just I feel like all I've done the past couple weeks is prepare for a crisis, and then I feel like all I've done for the past couple weeks is prepare for something and then leave. So it'll be nice to have a couple weeks at home where I don't have to go anywhere. I know Dave was lamenting he felt like I'd been gone a whole lot this year with a bunch of trips, and it's true, I have traveled a lot for my blog. All right, now that my eyeshadow primer is on, I need to set. I'm gonna use the Lunatic Cosmetics Labs setting powder, and basically I just do that because then it keeps any sort of like wetness or stickiness from the primer from getting on the eyeshadow. So I take this big fluffy brush, which is the Delium Tools 787, tap off the excess, and just swirl it on top of my primer. This also has the side benefit of making it easier to blend. Now, you could just use a base shade if you'd rather do that than use a setting powder, but I feel like I've had better results lately by using setting powder as opposed to a base shade. I'm not really sure what eyeshadow I'm gonna wear. I know that people were asking, you know, what eyeshadow did I evacuate with? Well, I evacuated with all of the same makeup that I took with me to Dragon Con. So that was my Kat Von D Pastel Goth palette, my custom Glam Tech palette that has a poodle on it, and I just put in different Makeup Geek eyeshadows, some Sugar Pill, and I think I have a couple of ColourPop in here too. And I also brought my Viseart Bright Editorial palette because this is great for Dragon Con for fantasy makeup of any sort. So between these three palettes, I was absolutely covered. And I think before I put on my eyeshadow, I'm going to do my brows first. This is Wonder Brow in Jet Black. So the way I've been putting this on recently is I like wipe off the excess on the lip, and then I will brush it onto my brows, and then I'm going to go back with another brush to basically spread it around and clean it out, or clean up the edges. So this is just an angled eyeshadow brush. I think it's from Urban Decay. But the Wonder Brow is super dark and super pigmented, and it lasts like 3 days or so. Definitely lasts through going to the gym, through showering, as long as you're not like deliberately trying to scrub it off. It is an excellent brow product in my opinion. You know, I keep trying to decide whether or not I'm actually going to get my brows microblading touched up because, you know, I had them microbladed last year. I had them done very natural. And when it comes down to it, anytime I'm doing any sort of like a YouTube video or pictures or anything like that, I fill in my brows. Like, I feel like my brows look good, you know, just for normal, like around the house stuff or going out. If I'm not doing a full face of makeup, I feel like they look like nice full brows without it, but or they look like they're nice brows without it, but I feel like with it, I think it looks better to have them filled in. So I almost feel like I should just kind of skip doing microblading again because I had it done so light last time. And I think I could do it heavier this time around, but I'm just not sure it's worth it. I guess that's where I'm at. I have seen recently how people have been doing getting basically like the equivalent on their eyelashes or along their lash line to have thicker, darker looking lashes, which I think that's a great idea, especially if you have hooded eyes. But then there's the whole ick factor of having somebody put a needle like right along your lash line. That's a little much for me. I know whenever I had my PRK vision surgery done, since you had to do it while you were awake, it was really freaky and I had a panic attack through it. So I can't imagine that it would be much easier for me to have that done to my lash line. Even though you're numbed up, it's still a needle right by your eye. And I feel like I would flinch. I've stopped doing lash extensions for now. I basically felt like my lash line was getting irritated and just couldn't handle it. I'd been doing it, you know, for well over a year, but it seems like I just need a break from it for a while. I suppose I should use a magnifying mirror to make sure that my brows are on straight. I really need to get my brows waxed. Or plucked, not waxed. I don't do waxing anymore. So we are still in the process of housebreaking nicks, which if you've never had to do that, housebreaking a puppy is, it's a lot of work. It's definitely a lot more work than most people realize, or I feel like it is. We're really lucky with Phyrra because she came practically housebroken, so she was really easy. Nicks has been very challenging. So what I've been doing with her is basically every time she successfully goes outside and goes potty, I'm giving her treats and praising her like crazy, which usually that helps to work, but sometimes like she still has accidents in the house. She doesn't seem to have any tells, like signals that she's got to go. So I will just, you know, ask her if she has to go out. If she cocks her head and sits down, I take her out, and then usually she goes. So it's been fun. I'm going to use a fluffy brush in the gray shade from the Pastel Goth palette, which is Dagger. This brush is the B04 brush from Real Techniques. It's that powder blue brush that I really, really love. And I'm just patting it onto my lid to build up the color. I really love gray eyeshadow. I know a lot of people don't, but I think it's because I prefer a lot of cooler tones when it comes to eyeshadows. I feel like gray really makes my blue-green eyes pop. But I know a lot of people don't like gray. Gray is my favorite neutral aside from black, so it's just what I like to use. So when I'm building up the color like this, I just basically am patting the brush onto the skin. It's very soft. And I just try to make sure that the color is visible when my eye is open so that you can see it, because I have hooded eyes. Very, very soft amount of color. And I'm kind of doing this whole windshield wiper motion thing. So somebody asked me recently what my favorite flower was, and I told them that my favorite flower is, my favorite flowers are orchids. And the reason behind that is that there are so many different kinds of orchids, and it was one of those things that reminded me of how, you know, there are so many different types of women, you know, fat, skinny, tall, short, all different shapes and sizes, just like with orchids, and they're all beautiful. So orchids have always been my favorite flower, and that was one of the things that reminded me of it. I do also like birds of paradise and anything that's purple or black. So a lot of you probably know this, but if you have hooded eyes, it pays to kind of take a step back in the mirror and look straight at your eyes to see whether or not you can see the color whenever your eyes are open. So sometimes what I do is set up 2 mirrors on my desk whenever I'm getting ready. So I have a closer mirror right here and one further back so that I can just look in both mirrors, one right after the other, to see how visible my eyeshadow is or isn't. Because doing makeup on hooded eyes, in my opinion, is more challenging than on eyes that are not hooded. So any little extra tip or trick I try to share. And I'm going to use this Real Techniques Precision Smudge Brush to smudge the gray along my lower lid. Yesterday we took the puppies, well we took Phyrra and Nix to the dog park, and it was Nix's first time to go to the dog park, and it was so cute. There were a ton of dogs there because Saturday at 4:30 is like the time to go apparently. And most of the dogs were much bigger than her. So she, at first, hid between my legs. And then slowly she came out of her shell and started sniffing the other dogs. It was really cute. There were like a couple dogs that were smaller than her, but most of them were all bigger dogs. I was really kind of amused because there was, somebody had this big husky, and the husky was like rolling around wrestling with these other dogs and just looked so happy. And I was surprised because, it's really hot in Florida. So I was surprised to see a husky outside and enjoying himself in the heat. At least our dog park has like a lot of shade, so you can get out of the heat and still enjoy playing with the other dogs. I think I want something shimmery on my inner lid. I'm going to use the color right here, which is Kaleidoscope by Makeup Geek. Whenever I don't know what to wear, it's a good bet that that's a color I should reach for just because I really like it. Where's my all-nighter spray? I'm also going to spritz my brush beforehand with Urban Decay's All Nighter Spray, and the brush I'm using is the Urban Decay's Angled Lip Brush. And I'm just going to put this on the inner part of my lid. Maybe as far over as 3/4. And I do like the inner little corner part too. This is basically one of my go-to eyeshadow combos just because it's pretty quick and easy, and I really like how it looks. And because it's a duochrome color, like you see basically like turquoise and pink and violet on the silvery base, it just makes it look like there's a lot more going on with the color. I'm going to use Sigma's Wicked Liner, and zoom in a little bit for this. What I'm going to do is basically tight line kind of under here by the roots of the lashes. Sorry if that's kind of hard to see, but basically I'm trying to go on the underside of the lashes and use a gel liner to make them look thicker and fuller. And then I'm going just on the top side of the lashes too. Not a whole lot, but a little bit, and I think you can see how it makes a difference between these two eyes to have just a little bit of liner on. Alright, so now I'm going to put on my lashes. I'm using Ardell Demi Wispies. I use these because they're, I think, the most flattering for my hooded eye shape. Lately I have been cutting them in half and then putting them on. I wait for about 30 seconds and then I put the outer half on first. The inner half is always harder for me, I don't know why. I use latex-free Duo Lash Glue because anything else will make my eyes all weepy and swell shut. So once I have these on, what I like to do then is go back either with a liquid liner or more of the Sigma Wicked gel liner and kind of fill in any gaps that I can see. And for whatever reason, once you put on false lashes, I feel like it makes any eyeshadow look a million times better. I'm going to put on Urban Decay's Troublemaker mascara. It just kind of helps my natural lashes blend with the false lashes. My lashes are still growing out from having had my lash extensions removed, so they're still kind of funky. They don't want to hold any curl, and they make me sad. So on most days, I don't worry about it, but if I'm going to be filming a video like today, I just decided I was going to put on some lashes. So my eyes are almost done. The last thing I really need to do is highlight, but I'm going to wait till I get all the rest of my other makeup on first. I'm going to break out my Hourglass Veil Mineral Primer. I haven't used this in a while, but I'd like to use it. It's one of those primers that I feel like you can really see that it brightens the skin. I'm trying to put it down just the right side of my face so that you can, actually it's gonna go down both sides of my nose, but so there, it's on this side, not on this side. I think you can kind of see, like, it gives just like a subtle radiance. It's really nice. It's gonna work really well with my foundation today. So now that my primer's on and it's had a minute to set, I'm gonna put on some foundation. And I've actually bought a lot of foundation recently. I picked up the Fenty Beauty foundation in the shade 100. Not gonna wear this one today because I think I need to add oil to it. It's super, super dry. It's a pretty good match for my skin tone. I also picked up the Fenty Beauty concealer that comes in a stick form in the shade Ivory. And this is too dark for me. This was like the most neutral warm one I could find in the stick, and it's too dark. I've got swatches up on my Instagram. I also recently picked up the Cover FX N0 cream foundation because I haven't had this in a while and I wanted to get a new one. And the last thing that I have was a PR sample, and this is the Essence Air Cushion in the shade Light, and that's what I'm going to put on today because I wore this the other day and was really impressed with how it looked in video. So when you look at it in the container, it looks like it's really, really dark, but that doesn't actually seem to translate to the skin when I put it on. I don't like the little thing that comes with it for application, but I'm not sure what would be better to use. So if you have like tips and you're, somebody who uses cushion foundation a lot, please let me know. I think this is the first cruelty-free cushion foundation that I've ever tried. And I want to get pictures of it out in the sun to see how well it matches, because it looked really good on video the other night, but that was at night under all my studio lights. I'm going to check and see what it looks like today under daylight. Remember, for me, I want to match my neck and my chest so that I look more uniform. I hate it when my head is darker than the rest of me. Here it is on one side of my face. Naked face. And there's my Phyrra. Ray is watching baby Nyx while I play with makeup and make YouTube videos. This is only the second time in I don't know how many weeks, like 2 weeks. I guess it's been 2 weeks that I've really been able to play with makeup, and it's nice. With all the craziness going on, makeup had to take a back seat. And since it's, you know, my hobby, it's something I love, it sucks when I don't have time for it. All right, let me let that sit for a minute, see how it looks. I've never tried this foundation with that primer, but I figured it wouldn't hurt to give it a try. So I feel like this is drying down to kind of like a sort of demi-matte finish. Like, it still looks really radiant, but I'm not sure if I should set it or not. So I think I'm going to use the Milani Prep Set Glow Illuminating Powder and just kind of dust that all over. I love the radiance this product gives, and I feel like it gets no love on YouTube. Still not sure that it doesn't make my foundation a little bit darker than it should be, but I like the glow a lot. All right, let's get some cheek action going on. This is my Aromaleigh Aconitum Napellus, something like that. It's basically the contour powder of hers that I pressed. And I just want to use it to add a little bit of shadow. I have a little bit of contouring going on, not much. I'm going to put on Makeup Geek Celestial next because that's my highlighter. Also going to use this to highlight my face. You can see Phyrra sitting there. I'm not really sure what she wants. Probably a walk. So my highlighter is on. I want to put on a tiny little bit of blush. So when it came to blushes, the blushes that I took with me were Urban Decay's TMI and Urban Decay's Obsessed and Urban Decay's Rapture. I'm not sure where that's at. So those were the three blushes that I was like, okay, I need them. They need to be with me. I think I'm going to put on a little bit of TMI. Really, I'm just popping a little bit on right here and kind of blending it in a circle in between the contour and the highlight. think that's really all I need. All right, so that's good for my blush, contour, highlight. I put this on my lips. This is Dr. Pawpaw to prep it before I put on any lipstick. I love this so much. Like I received one of these as a press sample at Cosmoprof, but I've since bought 4 more just to put around my house so that I'd never run out of it. Love this stuff. It's excellent for my lips. I think I'm going to put on the Urban Decay Hex Pencil, which is kind of like a burgundy. It's one of my go-to liners. This is one of the colors you'll see me wearing the hell out of this fall because I love it so much and it goes with so many different things. So I really just line the outside of my lips and I'm going to fill in with Jouer Snapdragon. It's a whole bunch of lip color that came off. Yeah, I think that's it for my finished looks. So I hope you enjoyed this Chatty Get Ready with me. Please be sure to let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share. And if you haven't already, go ahead and click that little subscribe button down below so you don't miss my next video. Thanks so much for watching.